Friends, today we have a narrative without me, yet with what one could describe as entertaining repercussions. Before we commence, kindly subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and give this video a thumbs up if you appreciate it. We shall deliberate everything in the comments later on. Nothing in the account has been altered, merely a direct recounting. The tale of my confession is quite lengthy, but simultaneously candid and 100% truthful. Perhaps it will provide someone with food for contemplation, so I would request that you listen to it attentively until the end. Let's begin with, I seem to delight in fraying my own nerves, continually stumbling into thorns and then analyzing my guilt in ending up there. But now I'm starting to comprehend that it shouldn't be this way. I'm exhausted. The reality is, I've been with my boyfriend John for an extended period. I recollect the commencement of our relationship, which, akin to all the novels, was simply magnificent. It was like a movie. A modest girl who acquiesced to the whims of her fiancé encountered a self-assured guy who was renowned as a Casanova. But deep down he was melancholic and solitary. They bickered with each other for a prolonged time, and after one accidental kiss, their lives were turned upside down. In general, they decided to be together and make each other joyful. But alas, initially, John showered me with sweet text messages and took me out with friends, stating, "I won't be like your ex, compelling you to sit at home and merely stupidly watch movies. I'll show you such wonders." Literally a month or two later, that's all we did. Sat at home and stared at the monitor. No, I truly did learn a multitude of intriguing things. We frequently ventured out somewhere, simply strolled in the park, always found something to do at his place. And in terms of intimacy, I can't even describe it. For the first time, I grasped what an orgasm is, what it truly means to make love. I experienced so many incredible emotions with him. I felt things I had never felt before. In general, the fairy tale of happiness lasted about 2 or 3 months, and then the torment began, and it started completely out of the blue. For instance, his friends would summon him for 5 minutes, and I had to wait for him. "Sunshine, lie down in bed naked, and I'll be right back." Yeah, right. From anger and disappointment, I could only scream into the pillow, because this wonder managed to return at 6 a.m. with stories about how much fun he had with friends at the bowling alley. Oh, and how he mocked his ex there, and how sweet. He regretted that I wasn't there. When I inquired why he didn't call and invite me then, he replied, "But would you want to go that far? Besides, it wasn't that far." To be honest, thank God there were very few such cases. Oh yes, about the ex that he mocked at the bowling alley. A week later, he slept with her while inebriated. He informed me about it a month later, adding, "Sunshine, you're better in bed." What a consolation. I immediately perked up. "Thanks, dear." Okay, I've been unfaithful while drunk too, just not on him. So I've already forgiven that. Further on, if at first John was affectionate and gentle, with kisses that made you want to melt, strong arms that embraced you, recently, you rarely get even a touch on your shoulder from him when you're watching those detestable movies on that detestable couch. We need to recollect what movies we haven't watched yet. And what's even more interesting is that sometimes he'll display the movie on half the screen, and on the other half, he'll open the browser and poke around on the internet for hours. "Honey, come here. Let's sit together." "No, Sunshine. I'm comfortable like this for now. I'm chatting with Julie, Alex, Paul, and Natasha at the moment." "It's cold. So cover yourself with a blanket and keep sitting. I'll warm up by kicking you in the back with my feet and hugging my mug of tea." And so it goes every time. I tried to converse, but the answers were all about the same. Look at my friends. They don't have such conversations, but they're both happy. Your friends, for example, at least respect each other. The husband often kisses or hugs his wife. She's affectionate with him, so such conversations don't arise. It's not in my nature to be gentle. And he says this with such a countenance, as if I asked him to swap his head with his posterior. So in the beginning, poor you, forcing yourself to be gentle and loving in order to attract a girl. And then you don't need to retain her. You can immediately breathe a sigh of relief and relax. You like this position? I don't like it. I'm not holding you. The most interesting response, applause. There's not even anything to say to that except maybe, "Oops, sorry," when a huge bruise appears on his forehead. However, if you contemplate it, this is the easiest way to solve all problems. I find out what's going on at his work, what's bothering him now, what he's thinking about only from his friends, whom he tells everything. And after that, He's still offended that I don't know anything about him, and I'm not at all interested in his life. Yes, yes, dear, I understand that I have to learn to read your thoughts to know what's happening to you. Let's move on. Oh yes, intimacy. In general, from the art that I considered it to be, it turned into mechanical friction. In general, this mechanics happened at most 2 times a week. It's usually in the morning, when he has an erection. But at least he waits until I have an orgasm. Then he gets dressed, wraps himself in a blanket, turns his back to me, a mandatory rule, with his back to me, and snores again. By the way, he spends the entire sexual act with his eyes closed, as if he's still sleeping. In general, despite the orgasm, the mood and desire to kiss him before leaving for work disappears. And just 5 minutes ago I wanted to stroke his cheek and embrace him. Yuck. Oh, I completely forgot that he also forbade me to communicate with my friends. With guys, it's clear you can't communicate. I understand that he's worried. He's jealous. Yeah, and he also expects that I'll get inebriated as a skunk and give myself to one of them. And he, the handsome guy, will not forgive my infidelity. And about my girlfriends, he says they're all mean hypocrites and will badmouth him to me. But he would have to manage to fall out and be offended with each of them, that they treat him badly. Now let's get to the most interesting part. This is why I've become nervous and incredibly irritable now. It all started with my beloved suddenly having some new acquaintances that he really needed to help. That if he makes friends with them, there will be good connections. And he began to disappear there often. He disappeared there not alone, but with several of his friends. So I really thought that the whole company decided to help a mutual friend. Then strange activity began from one ugly girl. Let's call her Jenna. She kept commenting on his photos, writing to him, started calling him. Then messages began to appear on her wall on social media like, "I only love him. Dear, choose either me or her. How good that my beloved is only with me." And there was a photo of my guy. That's when I got furious. I ran to sort things out with my boyfriend. He just laughed, said the girl was head over heels for him, so she was acting up. With her cross-eyed face and, as it turned out, a stupid little head, as both my boyfriend and all our friends said about her. Acting up is all she can do. Then I accidentally saw a love message to this girl on his phone. He replied that he was covering for a friend. Okay, I believed it because my boyfriend is such a fool that he might well go for such a stunt. Once we were walking with his friends, one of them told me that this girl had been chasing a completely different guy for a long time, but he rejected her, and Jenna decided to take revenge on him by trying to seduce my beloved. I laughed, but when I turned to my boyfriend, I froze. He was sitting there with an angry and extremely disappointed look. He suddenly called a cab, sent me home, and he himself raced off somewhere with his friends. An hour later, he called me and asked me to come urgently. He took a beer, sat me on the couch, and said, "I've been cheating on you with Jenna for the last month." Well, what a gift. Okay, if it was drunk like with the ex, but here the infection was that he cheated for a whole month. To tell the truth, I didn't immediately comprehend what he was even confessing to me. But when it got through, it was too late for a fight. So I just started weeping. So that's how it is. So for half a year I knew neither love nor affection. I didn't hear affectionate words. And here, within a month, some splinter got both love and affection from him, which I had been waiting for so persistently. Damn, how many nerves were wasted before all this. And now such a blow to my soul. It's enough to just scroll through my head now how gentle he could be with her, and I'm immediately turned inside out. Plus, as with the first betrayal, he said that I was much better in bed, and that's why he chose me. What a wonderful compliment. What, am I now his mistress, whom it turns out you can choose, value, and love purely for intimacy? To my question of why he did it, he replied, "I wanted something novel, just like in the joke. Darling, you're the best. With each new mistress, I'm more and more convinced of this." And what else really killed me was that he asked me, "In your opinion, what should you do now? Blow my mind over all this?" Oh, Jenna would have removed the mugs from my table, made the bed, and tried to understand me. Why didn't you drag her here so she could clean everything up while we sort out our relationship? By the way, when he rushed off like that to send me home, he rushed to sort things out with Jenna. Like what the hell was she sticking to other men for? And all that time that he was allegedly helping people, he was sitting at this girl's house with friends. While his buddies were getting inebriated, he would go with her to his place, and they would get intimate on the couch that I hated so much, but on which he and I slept together while I lived with him. Disgusting. on which, according to his stories, she was like a log. How unpleasant it was for me to hear such details. And for me, can I have the same to go, please? For some time we didn't see each other, probably about 2 weeks. He was disgusting to me. However, overcoming my disgust for him, I still came to his place once. He was very sad, even more so. His face expressed extreme despair. For a long time he didn't say what had happened. Then he finally said that Jenna had called him and made him happy by saying that she was pregnant by him. I think that's it. He'll go to her, they'll get married, have a child. After all, after this whole story, I was sure that he was desperately trying to get rid of me. But then my boyfriend really surprised me. He hugged me tightly and said, "Sunshine, I beg you, forgive me. Only now I realize that I'm afraid to lose you more than life. I love you more than anything in the world. But what the hell made me get involved with this crazy woman? I'd rather this child was from you." He didn't let me go for a long time, kept caressing and kissing me. Tears were streaming down his cheeks. I saw him like this for the first time. I really hadn't seen him so gentle and incredibly loving for a long time. And then the Snow Maiden's heart, as always, melted. In general, in order to escape from this madam, we decided to get married, and she continued to terrorize him. She called him, got to him with text messages, set her friends on him. Then she started getting to me. But I quickly sent her away. But her girlfriend started getting to me. I would have killed her. Why did she ask where I work and my boyfriend told her? Why did he answer her? Tell me, write in the comments. Why? But so far she hasn't appeared before my eyes. And you know what's the strangest thing in this whole situation? He didn't allow me to interfere in this matter by either hearing or seeing. He kept threateningly saying, "It's none of your business." On the one hand, it's nice that this way he seems to be trying to protect me from unnecessary nervous tension. In principle, it's in his style. But on the other hand, this stubbornness and even aggression of his aroused new suspicions in me. In general, it always seemed to me that he still had some connection with this madam. I learned all the details from his mother, who told me everything with obvious pleasure. She just loves to chat about the most piquant topics. For example, that this Jenna stuck to everyone, climbed to kiss everyone, offered to date every guy. When my boyfriend tried to go for an ultrasound with her in order to be absolutely sure that she was pregnant, she desperately refused to meet with him. She said "Bring me money for all the services and I'll figure it out myself." With his mother, she refused to talk on this topic. But she vigorously dragged my boyfriend to the altar. In general, everyone came to the conclusion that she was simulating. Plus, recently she introduced my boyfriend to her new boyfriend, and subtly hinted that now she was going to communicate very closely with him. In general, all the turmoil with this abnormal lasted about 2 or 3 months. But I still drink valerian and lose my temper at work. My boyfriend's friends often tease him among themselves. "So it turns out she wasn't only with you, huh? She stuck to you too. And what did you do? Froze her out? And rightly so, she's scary and also crazy in the head." But our hero seems to have gone both blind and deaf. I teased from the side, "You said you only choose beautiful and smart ones. Honey, it turns out you cheated not only on me but also on your tastes." How much malice has accumulated in me. And when everything had just settled down with this madam, everything returned to its former course. He was reluctant to take me with his friends. I don't see intimacy for weeks again. No affection, no tenderness. But at least we started communicating like human beings. Now I often drag him out for walks in good weather. And that's where he shows at least some semblance of a loving attitude towards me. To tell the truth, after this whole story, I don't really want affection either. His voice on the phone, "I love you, my sunshine, my beloved." It almost stopped making me happy. And before, if I was already shaking with some kind of lust from the mere sight of him, now I look at him sometimes and think, what the hell did I find in him? In general, I left him. I was just tired of thinking that he had someone else. I was just tired of remembering the bad moments because for some reason the good ones didn't come to mind. He called me for a while, apologized, and I barely tried not to throw myself on his neck. A few weeks passed and he and I met, and absolutely by chance, as if fate wanted to bring us together. I went with my friend to the cinema, and he was sitting in the next seat. We didn't watch the movie, we just conversed. My friend then got offended and left, and I went for a walk around the city with my ex-present. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I forgot the keys to the house. He invited me to his place, and we made love all night. He admitted that since the breakup, he had never stopped thinking about me. He hadn't dated a single girl. He wanted to get me back, but didn't know how. He says he will never cheat again because this situation has become too bitter and valuable a lesson for him. Now we're together again. He really has changed, become more gentle, more affectionate. We have a lot in common now. He doesn't go anywhere without me now, doesn't hang out anywhere. We spend all our time together or with our mutual friends. I haven't forgiven him yet, but I'll see what happens next. I hope that nothing like this will happen again, because despite everything, I continue to love this fool.